The police officer stood in front of my backyard, peering at the 12FT model windmill behind him while Brenda Caldwell, our HOA treasurer, hissed into her walkie-talkie. "Yes, dispatch. We've got a structural anomaly. I couldn't help but set her straight. It wasn't just a windmill. It was a hand-built replica of a 17th century Dutch windmill, complete with rotating blades and a miniature grain milling mechanism. But in Meadowview Heights, historical fidelity was no match for what Brenda called subdivision symmetry. I'm Clara Thompson, 58, retired schoolteacher, and amateur windmill enthusiast. I moved to this sleepy pocket of Boise, Idaho, picturing a tranquil retirement filled with sawdust, folk music, and the hum of my workshop. Every Monday and Wednesday, I'd retreat to my backyard shed, carving each blade while the neighborhood minded its own business. Or so I thought. What I hadn't bargained for was Brenda Caldwell, a woman who wore khaki capri like a general's uniform and swung her hoa binder like a battle axe. Brenda wasn't just any treasure, she was the kind who once fined a neighbor's inflatable Santa for seasonal height violations. As treasurer, she saw herself as the final bulwark against visual chaos. The first time she spotted my windmill through my fence, her face scrunched like she'd seen me barbecue a bald eagle. The notices started that day. The first, taped to my mailbox at dawn, cited me for unsanctioned mechanical structures. I laughed, thinking it was a gag, until I saw her monogrammed letterhead. When I kept building, the violations stacked up like firewood: non-conforming rotational apparatus, excessive historical replication, and my personal favorite, unauthorized windmill hum during operational tests. Apparently, the fate were of my blades breached auditory tranquility protocols. Brenda began circling my property twice daily, clipboard clutched, her lips pursed like she'd bitten into a rotten apple. She spread rumors I was constructing a wine-powered doomsday device, told the UPS driver I was running an illegal grain museum, and once, I swear on my grandmother's quilt, she perched a plastic pinwheel on my model and photographed it, claiming I was building a backyard turbine farm. Brenda had clearly lost her grip, but she had the whole regulations in her corner. On July 15th, I moved my windmill to the backyard patio for a final layer of weather-resistant lacquer. The sunlight was perfect, the breeze gentle, and for 10 minutes, I was in windmill nirvana. Then I heard the sharp tap of loafers on gravel. Brenda stormed in with a tape measure, a megaphone, and a binder labeled Operation Windstorm. She measured everything: blade span, base circumference, even the shadow angle, grumbling about setback infractions and windmill zoning breaches. I'm sure she conjured from thin air. When I asked what her problem was, she blared, her megaphone in my face, proclaiming my windmill violated 15 bylaws, the city codes, and community aesthetic equilibrium. That evening, she called the police, claiming my windmill was obstructing avian migration patterns and possibly concealing a covert energy grid. The officer, a tired guy who looked like he'd rather be fishing, scribbled notes as Brenda flailed at my windmill like it was about to grind the neighborhood to dust. "Ma'am," he said to me, stifling a grin, "can you explain this thing?" I told him it was a 1/15 scale replica of a Dutch windmill, built from historical blueprints with hand-carved blades. He nodded, walked around it, then turned to Brenda. "Mom, misusing emergency services is a crime." Her face went rigid, but Brenda wasn't one to retreat. She escalated, emailing doctored photos of my windmill to the city, alleging I was violating a rotational structure ordinance. She fabricated. She CC'd every official from the mayor to the sanitation department, claiming my windmill could spark unregulated wind energy precedents across Boise. But I had a secret weapon: my old friend Rachel, a city zoning inspector and fellow history nerd who loved windmills as much as I did. Over tea, I showed her my model, and she gasped like I'd unveiled a Rembrandt. Then she got serious. "Show me every notice Brenda sent," she said. Rachel didn't just dig, she excavated. She found Brenda had filed for 100 complaints in 2 years, from overly vibrant flower beds to suspiciously shaped mailboxes. Worse, Brenda had misused $40 to $1,000 in HOA funds on compliance drones and software for tracking aesthetic deviations. She'd even invented bylaws, slipping them into the rulebook without votes. Rachel's investigation blew the lid off. At the whole meeting, neighbors packed the room, sharing stories of Brenda's rain-fine bird feeders, banned porch swings. When Rachel presented the financial misconduct, the crowd roared. Brenda's ousting was unanimous, and she fled, her plastic pinwheel stuck to her car. Months later, She faced 4 years for embezzlement, her final courtroom well, but the Windmill,